I moved into the apartment in late September, when the air had started to take on that sharp, early autumn chill. The leaves on the street outside were a mix of gold and red, rustling underfoot, and the city smelled of wet asphalt and faint smoke from the distant chimneys. I had just graduated, my first real job waiting for me, and this old building had been cheap. It was built decades ago, with narrow hallways that seemed to swallow sound, wooden floors that creaked under every step, and a lobby that smelled faintly of mildew and cleaning chemicals. The landlord, an older man named Mr. Carmichael, had smiled at me and handed over the keys, warning me about the building's quirks: the leaky faucet in the kitchen, the way the radiators groaned when they heated up, and the occasional drafts that came from nowhere. I thought I could handle it. The first night, I unpacked my things, arranging my books and clothes, setting up a small desk by the window. The room smelled of old wood and a faint dampness that I tried to ignore. I set my alarm, brushed my teeth, and slid into bed. The moment my head hit the pillow, a strange sensation pressed over me, a quiet, insidious awareness that I wasn't entirely alone. It wasn't fear, exactly. More like the feeling of being observed by something patient, something that had no intention of revealing itself yet. I sat up. The room was empty, just shadows stretching along the walls and the dim streetlight filtering through the blinds. I laughed nervously at myself, blaming the moving in stress, and lay back down. Sleep didn't come easy. Every faint creak, every subtle tap, whether the radiator shifting or the wind brushing against the window, made me tense. My eyes darted constantly to the corners of the room, and even in the dark I could feel a presence just at the edge of perception. By the second night, the sensation worsened. I thought I saw a shadow flicker in the hallway outside my bedroom door. At first, I dismissed it as my imagination or the shifting streetlight, but the shadow moved in a way shadows shouldn't. It stretched, shifted, almost as if it were alive, just beyond the edge of what my mind could process. My heartbeat quickened, and I told myself it was nothing, but a seed of unease had been planted. The third night, I awoke to a sound I couldn't immediately place. A soft, deliberate scratching. Nails, or something like nails, along the base of the wall, moving toward the bedroom. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to bolt, but my body refused. The sound stopped. I waited, straining to hear over the pounding of my heart. And then I heard it. A low whisper coming from the corner, from the shadows. "I'm here." I scrambled out of bed and flipped on the light. Nothing, just the familiar pale walls and furniture bathed in harsh artificial light. I laughed shakily at my own terror, blaming the wind, the old building settling. But deep inside, I knew something had spoken to me. Over the next week, the incidents escalated. Doors I had locked were found slightly ajar. Objects I left on counters or tables moved just enough to be noticed. My keys, a cup, a shoe, subtle, almost imperceptible but deliberate. I began checking locks obsessively, checking windows before sleeping, walking through the apartment slowly at night to ensure no one was hiding in corners. But the feeling never left me. I wasn't imagining it. Something was in my apartment, learning my routines, waiting. Then one night, I saw it clearly. I had gotten up to use the bathroom. The hallway was dark, lit only by the faint glow of a street lamp outside. At first, I saw nothing. Then, from the corner of my eye, a figure materialized. A silhouette, impossibly tall and thin, standing just inside the doorway of my living room. Its head tilted unnaturally, like it was studying me, assessing me. My chest tightened. I tried to focus, to make sense of it, but my eyes betrayed me. The figure grinned. A grotesque, frozen smile that stretched farther than it should, wider than humanly possible. I blinked and it was gone. But the sense of being watched, of being hunted, never left me. Days became weeks and I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I would set up in the living room, lights on, doors locked, yet the presence followed. I began to notice small things that made my skin crawl. Shadows at the edge of my vision that shifted just as I looked directly at them. Footsteps that weren't mine, light and deliberate, packing the perimeter of the apartment. A low breathing, almost human, but hollow and wrong. One evening I was cooking dinner when I heard it, A soft tap at the window behind me. My heart froze. Tap, tap, deliberate, measured. I grabbed a chair and crept to the window, peeking through the blinds. Nothing. Just the faint, dim glow of the streetlight, branches moving in the wind, but I could feel it. Watching. Waiting. That night I slept in the bathtub, blanket wrapped tight, ears straining. And then I heard it again. A whisper from the corner of the room, faint but unmistakable. "Don't sleep yet." The next morning I tried to rationalize everything. I called the landlord, hoping for an explanation. Maybe another tenant had a key, or perhaps some maintenance worker had come in. Mr. Carmichael chuckled and shook his head. "No one else is supposed to be in your apartment tonight," he said. "Building, quiet." I knew he was lying, or maybe he just didn't care. Either way, I was alone in this, and I had to figure it out. The following weeks were hell. I stopped leaving the apartment unless necessary. My job became secondary to survival. I would check locks obsessively, move objects back into place, and still find them subtly shifted the next day. I began documenting everything, photographing rooms, recording audio at night. On playback, I could hear it. Soft scratching, subtle shuffling, the faintest whisper calling my name, sometimes barely audible, sometimes louder, almost deliberate. One night I woke to a low humming. At first I thought it was a neighbor, but it was coming from inside the apartment, from the bedroom closet. I froze, eyes wide in the dark, listening as the humming continued, rhythmic and unnerving. Slowly, impossibly slowly, the closet door creaked open. Nothing visible, just the open doorway, blackness stretching inside, and the humming, closer now, like a predator circling. I grabbed a heavy lamp and approached, voice shaking. "I know you're here, go away." Silence. Then from inside the closet, a faint chuckle, low, resonant, and inhuman. From that night onward, sleep became impossible. I stopped using my bedroom entirely. The living room became my sanctuary and my prison. I blocked the windows with heavy curtains. I placed locks on the doors, additional chains, but every night I could hear the softest movement along the walls, shadows flitting where they shouldn't. Sometimes I would catch glimpses of a figure, tall, impossibly thin, head tilted unnaturally, watching me from corners or hallways. And always the smile, wide, frozen. One night I was on the phone with my sister trying to explain, to convince her I wasn't imagining it. My hands shook as I held the receiver. That's when I heard it, a slow tap, tap, tap against the window. I froze, staring at the blinds. And then I saw it standing on the fire escape outside my window. The figure, head tilted, eyes black holes, smile stretching impossibly wide. It raised a hand almost lazily and waved. I screamed, hung up, and barricaded myself in the bathroom. The hours crawled by. Every sound was magnified, the dripping faucet, the distant city noises, the creak of the building settling. And sometimes, just sometimes, I could hear it laughing. Soft at first, then rising to an insane, high-pitched shriek that rattled my skull. I packed my things immediately and left that apartment that very night. I moved across the city, changed my phone, my routines, my friends, everything. I thought I had escaped. But even now, years later, late at night, when the world is quiet and I'm alone, I swear I hear it. The tapping, faint and deliberate, a whisper my name. And sometimes in the shadows just out of sight, I see it. Tall, thin, head tilted, smiling, waiting, watching, patient. Nightmare encounters, they never truly end. And if you think you're alone, think again.